Just give it up. Let's
Okay.
go.
Hey, and listen,
So
before you talk about it, have you presented this to the Biden campaign, the Trump campaign?
actually, I haven't, but I have introduced it to my local state legislators in
Okay,
Maryland.
let's go. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's
All
go. Let's
right.
go.
So
Hey,
I
Break it
wish I
Luby,
down.
had a copy.
Luby, can
I
you?
wish I had a copy of my agenda. I could send it out to y'all so y'all can review it and we could talk about it. But it's if I can remember everything on it, because it's something that I actually drafted back in 2016 when Trump first got elected. And
All right, give us a
essentially,
manifesto.
so some of the manifesto reads as though so we are there are like 3 to 5 branches. I can't remember everything. So there's like an entertainment branch, right? And the entertainment branch is simply
Gotta
the
have our record labels.
yeah. So the folks who have the platform, who have the money, who have the ability to kind of reach out to the masses, are the entertainment branch, right? Those are whether they be the NFLers, the NBAers, the LeBron James, the Malcolm Jenkins, the Ice Cubes, whoever it is. That's that branch. Then you have the lawyer kind of branch, right? The lawyer kind of lobbyist branch, kind of like the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Um, and then you have your business community, right? So anyway, there's 2 more. I have to actually have the shit in front of me, but in any event, we are essentially every branch is responsible for performing a duty, and that duty is to reach back within our communities and start advocating for black businesses, for advocating for self-education, meaning opening up our own schools, just advocating for that, right? Or putting money aside so we can create that. And so if we do that on a mass scale, right, then I think that we can start creating these little empowerment zones within our community. So let's say you have Chicago and you get all the black businesses, all the guys Common and all the folks from Chicago who are entertainers or whatever that have pull. They all get together and they invest. You get the folks from DC, New York, wherever, and they
You already have
all
it, brother.
create.
It's called 53rd Street.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Crump, have you
But,
seen
so,
the Biden Harris 2-pager for the black community? Have you seen
no, I
that?
haven't. No, I haven't.
Okay, it's 2 page. It talks about what you're talking about: black businesses, entrepreneurial support, right? And they're going to give this $150 billion new capital for opportunities. It also
Okay, so
talks
wait, I got a
about
question. I got a question about that because the platinum plans is the same thing. But here's my question, right? I would question Biden and Harris just like I'm gonna question Trump. I look at the Biden plan, at the platinum plan, right? It says 3 million new jobs for the black community. My first question is, so what, they're gonna set up an agency where we can go and line up and say, hey, I want one of 3 million jobs? Creating 500,000 new black-owned businesses. Okay, so was the SBA got like a black line and we just call and say, hey, I'm black. Is it first come, first serve, first 500 blacks to show up, get a business? Increase capital in increase access to capital in black communities by almost 500 billion. Okay, so when I put I'm black on my application, it's approved. You're gonna waive the credit score requirement. Like, I'm trying to figure out like how any of this shit happens in real life.
Well, yeah, that's
safe urban neighborhoods
right,
with highest policing standards. What you talking about? Stop and frisk. Commit to working on the Second Step Act. I don't even know what the fuck that means. You get out of jail and they're gonna help you when you get out of jail, I guess. Better education, better job training opportunities. Fuck out of here. Give black churches the ability to compete for federal resources in their community. They just need everybody to tithe. They'd be straight. Bring better and tailored healthcare to address historic disparities. So like the Tuskegee experiment. Immigration policy that protects American jobs. You go separate Mexican mothers from their breastfeeding babies. They're talking about, man, they ain't got shit to do with us. That's a build a wall shit. Advance homeownership opportunities and enhance financial literacy in the black community. What? Did you so
Yeah,
again?
I get it,
You gonna
KB.
forgive our
The
credit
shit
scores?
doesn't even
Get the
sound.
fuck out of
It
here.
shit sounds extravagant and not even realistic.
Onshoring manufacturers to advance jobs, develop opportunities for black-owned businesses. More bullshit. Ain't no jobs being onshore. Fuck out of here. They're not putting no damn manufacturing plants in Inglewood in the hood. You know what I'm saying? Fuck out of here. This shit is all bullshit, man.
Yeah.
Well, you know what though? Whether we agree with any of these plans and what they're going to do, I think to one of Crump's points, where we can't rely on either of these parties to do anything for us, we got to learn to pull together like these other ethnicity groups, the Asians, the Hispanics, even African people. They form their own communities and they do within their communities to achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
And we've had that blueprint for decades now. You know, it's not the first time we said that we as African Americans need to pull our efforts together. And really, instead of tearing Ice Cube down for his method of doing things, there needs to really be a rallying around either the plan itself or we as African Americans saying, hey, look, we need to collectively do this. And I think like Crump was laying out with the different groups from entertainers to lawyers to bankers, whoever, there needs to be that cohesiveness amongst us to effect the change we're looking to do. And so I'm saying all that to say we shouldn't be spending so much time focusing on if Cube did the right thing or not. We need to be thinking collectively so that we can, within ourselves, be our own movers and shakers to get who's ever in power, whatever political parties in power to do our bidding. So that's
Yeah,
my
but
two
what,
I
cents
mean,
on
but
but
we
what
don't,
does that look like, though?
we don't even
What
like
does that look
Howard
like?
dudes. I mean,
it.
we don't
We
even
got to
like
start
Howard dudes.
somewhere,
How we gonna
James.
get
I
past
mean,
that? You know what I'm saying? We don't even
No,
like
no, what
Howard
I'm
dudes. How
saying,
we
you're
gonna
right.
get
but
past
hold
that?
on, but,
You're right.
but James,
Yeah.
you're right to ask what does it look like? It just needs to start, man. We all from different areas of the country, and the same thing I just said, y'all have heard in y'all communities. You know what I'm saying? This ain't nothing new.
Quasi.
So when you say what does it look like, we got to start it somewhere. Shit,
Right.
you
Well,
want to
hold
throw
on.
somebody under the bus?
I got a question for Crump. So I actually like what you're saying, even though we always at odds. You know what I'm saying? I like what you're saying, and I agree that the only way to get to the blacks, you got to have somebody with a shiny object, ball, jumping or singing or something to get their attention. I agree with that. How do we like mobilize what you're talking about to make it happen? Because I think because I get the point about the different pillars. You got the business pillar, entertainment for the marketing piece of it. You know what I'm saying? You got to have the finance part. You got to have education, all those things. But how do we start mobilizing those resources to make this kind of stuff happen?
I think
And maybe this is another episode. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think those with the resources need to they're the ones that, because they have the ability to reach mass appeal, they're the ones who are really going to have to start it off, whether it be the ball players, whoever. But it's going to take folks like who have a sense of self, like a LeBron James, Colin Kaepernick, those types of people to start, start doing the funding, you know what I'm saying, which those two individuals have already started doing. And then start creating the mass appeal in the community where it becomes cool, right? Everything in whether we be youth or whatever it is in our community is kind of geared toward what's in, right? So it's got to be something to where we have folks who are be able to make it look like, okay, this is something to do, but not be a fad, make it happen for over a long period of time. And I think that's where we start. And when they start, if people start looking at them as our leaders and start injecting and investing in the community, and those with the know-how, whether it be the lawyers or whomever, who are able to, essentially get the legal jargon together, then you have those in the business community, who we need to support. I think people at some point, there will be a tipping point. But it's got to start somewhere, like Kwesi said. I mean, we don't know what it ultimately will look like, but we've got to be able to start from somewhere. And I think you start with those who are able to fund it. Because, if we just rely on the community itself, we don't have enough money. But if you look at every other community, whether it be Jews or whatever, it's always those on the top end who they work themselves up to get to a point, and then they reinvest in their community. We have those people, but what happens is that they want to go and integrate into other communities, and they forget about their own communities. And then whether it be investments, whatever it is, they divest their interests and their resources from our neighborhoods, which does nothing but give us a disservice, right?
Yeah.
If you have those same athletes,
excuse me, brother, but I live in Wakanda. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I live in PG County, or otherwise known as gorgeous Prince George's. So
it's only cool that's living in Buckhead, you know what I'm saying, with everybody else. But cool is the one that's like the leftist community, you know what I'm saying? It's sprawling estate.
I remember his roommate. His roommate was you.
Cool, I know the sprawling estate in this gazebo out there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But see, the thing is, folks like Cool
It was
have
on
to
for the
be
win.
able to start, and this is no take on Cool, but they have to be able to, whatever, even if you live outside of the community, you got to figure out, how do I, if I do business, if I have a business, how do I make sure that I'm creating jobs in the community? You know what I'm saying? And then whatever resources that, or whatever monies that you are making, that it's being reinvested in the community. You know what I'm saying? So if I had an opportunity to live in Potomac with a big ass sprawling mansion, maybe I'd do it, but I damn sure not going to take away from investing in the community, because, if we don't invest in our communities, then shit, nobody's going to invest in us. So that's essentially where we are.
Yeah.
Damn. Well, look here, man.
And
Go
you
ahead,
know
Lou, you got a
what?
question?
Let me add to that too. Like I said, we got to get to some starting point. I was actually looking up some information on the Congressional Black Caucus, and please don't hear me like I'm laying this at their feet, right? That's an organization that's been around since 1971, and for the most part, most people don't know much about the Congressional Black Caucus. For most people, it's considered, I hate to say it this way, just a big annual party that happens in September here in DC. And so we got to start with some type of organization, whether it's the Congressional Black Caucus or whoever, to be that foundation to bring everybody in, to pull the efforts to have just a starting point. I'm saying Congressional Black Caucus, but it could be any other type of organization as well. So,
yeah, I think two points I want to make. I think you have to invest in education, and to Crump's point, you got to have access to capital to reinvest in the communities. Those are the two major things that you got to continue to push on.
What's up, Lou? Go ahead.
Hopefully, it reminds me of in our first episode, civil rights with Hassan Jeffries, and I posed a similar question, and he said we got to start with ourselves. I mean, we're talking about
shit. We all rich, so shit. That
So I mean, it starts as simple as
we straight.
The 7 brothers and 5 brothers
else,
whoever's on here, collectively with ourselves, and then it spreads from there. I mean, it's ultimately what Crump has said. We can't go looking at somebody else, even if they're within our community. We got to start with ourselves and work out from there.
That's what's up.
Yeah,
and that's what people don't understand, man. I just don't get it, man. You can't, political power does not come unless you have that economic power. So nobody's gonna give a shit about you if you ain't got money to lend to a campaign, or if you ain't got the money to pull your resources together. I mean, without economic power, you're shitless. You ain't got shit. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
so
obviously is right now, man, what we need to do is get through these 2 weeks. We need to get this election passed, get a full Democratic Congress, and let's legislation over litigation, man. Let's make it happen. We got 2 years to make this shit work. Let's see what the Democrats do, hold their feet to the fire, hold them accountable. But at the same time, we got to mobilize, our voter registration, education, mobilization efforts. And we got to organize these with the Congressional Black Caucus, the different pillars that you were talking about in the Black community, and basically just get our shit in order to be ready for 2022, and beyond. So,
but let me ask you this, KB. This is a question that gets posed to me all the time.
Yep.
Are we voting Democratic because of the person or because of the principles?
Principles. I'm voting Democratic because I don't believe in separating women from children at the border.
No. That's not what I'm saying, because that's based on the person. That's some shit that Trump did.
That's policy. Right. But go ahead. All right. Okay.
Right. But if you look at it, Obama did the same thing.
It wasn't policy. It wasn't meant as a deterrent. Okay.
I'm just using that as an example of he was separating children and family and all that.
Not to the same extent. It's not a moral equivalency. But let me take a different approach. I vote for Democrats because I don't believe in trickle-down economics as a theory. I don't believe that works. Okay. I don't believe in conservative judges. I don't believe in you got freedom unless you disagree with what I think freedom is supposed to mean. I'm not with that. So for me, it comes down to their governing philosophies and those kinds of things. I don't care who's in office. I don't care who's running. They could have had Bozo the Clown, Pee Wee Herman. You don't care who was standing in a Democratic ticket. I was voting for him because I don't believe in what the Republicans believe in fundamentally.
Right.
So
and
you believe
Answer the question?
But no, Crump, historically, blacks voted Republican heavily, right?
Right. No, I understand that. I am a history buff and I get all that. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is, from a principle standpoint, Republicans believe in free trade principles and lack of government regulation in order to promote capitalism, right? And so you got a bozo that's in office that it doesn't matter how much of an asshole, how much what he does as far as his policy on separating children, as far as appointing conservative judges, all that shit means nothing to them as long as he is about free trade and lack of government regulation. At the end of the day, that's all they care about, and they will vote for him because of that, even though they think he's an asshole and all that. And so that's what I'm saying.
Republicans want big business to run the country,
right,
and to continue to feed them high donations so they can maintain power. And I have a problem with that.
Okay.
I have a problem with that because nobody's doing anything.
Yeah, and I do too. I think that I think about people. I think the difference between not necessarily the parties, but I think the difference between a lot of conservatives and liberals per se is that a lot of conservatives are selfish and they think about themselves first, whereas the liberals, and I don't necessarily agree with liberal policies that either, but the liberals are like, I want to save everybody, but they're saving at to what extent does it actually hurt you? You know what I'm saying? And so they're all about, because the same liberals that out here trying to save, me and like living next to me are the same motherfuckers that's gentrifying the shit out of DC and out of all the cities across the country. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's why you should move to Wakanda, brother.
No, that's why I'm in PG County. Whereas, like I said, George is for George.
Same thing. Well, this but is I'm what just saying what you can look for from a Democratic Congress. If you got a Democratic House, Senate, and presidency, what you can look for in the first 2 years is Obamacare 2.0, where they're gonna rewrite it, redo it, and make it stronger and get rid of the Republican bullshit that was in it that Obama put in there very naively. You're gonna see common sense gun reform. You're gonna see infrastructure spending. You're gonna see tax reform that's gonna work for everybody. I think you're gonna see a lot of really good legislation that's gonna come out, and the government's finally gonna start to work. And it's not going to be anything radical. It's not going to be anything super left wing. It's not going to be socialism. But I just think you're going to see government finally working.
Hold on. Are you also saying
that's assuming that the Senate, that's assuming that all houses are there?
Yeah,
the House and the Senate.
Yep.
I said the House and the Senate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, they're going to get rid of the filibuster day one. Filibuster's going to be gone day one.
Right.
Let me throw something out here real quick when we talk about our need to do things within our own community and ourselves. I'm reading this report that says that black spending in 2010 was $961 billion, and that in 2018,
half of it was at the weed shop.
We spent an estimated 1.3 trillion. I mean, you think about that kind of number, and so again, to Crump's point and all of our points, right? It starts with us. We got to invest in us. We got to start that kind of economic power, man. Whether you're looking for your 40 acres in a mule or not at this juncture, white people are like, yo, you got $1 trillion? Y'all got some shit within your community. You know what I mean? And you can start doing for yourselves, just like, again, these other ethnic groups. So I just throw that out there since I'm a money guy, numbers guy. That's a pretty big number to look at for our people.
Yeah, I mean, that $1 trillion, that GDP is probably higher than, the rest of the freaking countries combined. I mean, not countries, but at least.
That's right, Crump. We'll be like the 9th richest country in the world.
Richest country in the world. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, though, guys. So like Lou said earlier, it's we on the call. We talk about enterprising. We talk about business because at the end of the day, we can't pass a job down. We pass business down, right? So that's what I think that is so important. Like the first call, man, us on this call right here, look in the mirror. What can we do in our hands? In our hands, right? What can we do with these hands?
Entrepreneur.
You know what I'm saying? And because Carl, man, you're brilliant. You've been in the insurance business for a long time, man. One of the smartest guys I know, man. Our leader, fierce leader on the podcast. Carl, when I look at
I'm
you,
just
Carl,
talent, brother. I'm just talent.
Exactly, a hell of a talent. So, Carl, like as far as that intel in your head, how can we monetize that for Carl B Insurance and Investments, whatever you want to call it? What does that look like? Okay.
No, you're right. Shit.
Cool, Michael. It was funny. It was a picture. They had like all these rappers, Jay-Z, whoever you name it. And the caption was not one hospital, not one insurance company, not, what other business you think that can help us in that crowd.
Yeah.
And your boy MJ did that though in North Carolina. And that it got a little news coverage, but they really don't talk about it much.
Who did that?
What's that?
Michael Jordan. He opened up 2 hospitals in Charlotte.
Yeah. And then we got these lawyers here on the thing. Crump got his
donated to it.
He just don't. Yeah. And we got a lawyer. Crump is a probate lawyer. How can we all use our mind? How can Crump become the biggest probate estate lawyer?
No, I'm not a probate lawyer. First of all,
what type of lawyer? Estate lawyer, right?
I do estate planning and I do civil litigation. Get that right.
So how can you become the biggest guy in Maryland on the East Coast? What does that look like? Is that marketing? Is that billboards? Always from I-95? How can we?
Yeah, I don't think you got to be the biggest. Like I'm saying.
How can we generate more revenue then? Just say not the biggest. How can we go from $1 million to $10 million a year? Let's just take the incremental stages.
Look like we need to get Malika to be our guest next week.
Huh?
Looks like we need to get Malika to be our guest next week.
You know what I'm saying? So these certain things that we can talk about.
She got all the answers.
You know what I'm saying?
I think it just comes to that when you think about a lawyer, you think about an insurance person or a financial advisor. When you think about your doctor, all it takes is us investing or using those people, regardless with how many of, how big they are, you know what I'm saying? Because they'll grow as you invest in them, they'll grow. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so it's not even about me advertising, because I shouldn't have to do any advertising, which I really don't actually at this point. But if you know who I am, okay, Jay is going to handle my estate planning or whatever, then you're going to go to him. You're not going to go to somebody outside the community.
Exactly.
And so Jay ain't got to be the biggest, with the freshest office building, but he has the intelligence and he has the work ethic to get what it is you need done. And so you go to him because he's in your community. You don't go to some other jackal who's outside your community. And that's all it takes. It takes us, but when I first started practicing law, especially when I first opened my own practice, there was this whole adage where the white man's ice was colder than the black man's ice. You know what I'm saying? And what I realized is that in the beginning, I thought that was true. Like, black folks really are going to white folks because they believe niggas don't handle the job, right? I mean, and in some instances that is correct. We literally will not fuck with our own kind because we have this predisposed idea that we're not as competent. But a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of people don't even know black lawyers. You know what I'm saying?
Crump, you validated my point. It's marketing and branding.
Cool. Yeah. My point is that you don't have, if like, for instance, what I mean, they don't know a lawyer. They know the guys on the billboards. Like, to your point, they'll see the white male or the Jewish male on the personal injury billboards outside, right on the interstate or whatever. And that's what they know of a lawyer. It's like Wakanda, places like Prince George's County. There is a plethora of black lawyers out here. Plethora. I mean, there's abundance. And so if you don't know a black lawyer, it's because you choose not to know a black lawyer. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
And it's because
that's a good point, actually, when you in the black community, right? Because like I was just thinking about some of the bars and stuff we hang out at. It was literally like the business track. Whatever you needed, it was like, oh no, my man down our bars is a lawyer.
Yeah.
Or my man is an accountant. Or my man does taxes.
You go to Jasper's. Quasi will tell you about this. Jasper's is the place that everybody hangs out in Prince George's County, and it'll be the judges up in there. You will have the bankers in there next to the thugs, next to the niggas who ain't got shit. Like, everybody coalesces in this one bar. Yeah. So, and
is that the place that sells those chicken wings?
Yeah. Sells them. Yeah, the chicken wings. And so, people don't know because they stay in their own divide. They stay in their own system. Like, you don't want to get out of your your group, right? And it's going to take folks both on, whether it be if you're on a lower income side or a higher income side, getting out and getting involved in the community and knowing who your neighbors are. And that's what the problem with Black folks, and I believe with the Black middle class too, is that we tend to move away from our communities and we don't know the people in our hoods and stuff. And that has to occur in order for our communities to develop, because the average Black man is not gonna know an attorney if you're not hanging out with them. You know what I'm saying? If you're not in the hood.
Okay, so let's look at this. What's going on right now? So we got massive gentrification. So we developing, building houses, renovating, and I see the neighborhood changing. Right, I see to where when I'm buying people houses to where I leverage it. Hey man, Miss Jones, white boys be there. I'm there, right? I got to win the deal, right? So I'm always in the community, right? I'm talking to council people, you know what I'm saying? And in my business, what I found for me to work is really a bunch of Facebook marketing, right? So marketing. But I'm looking at our neighborhood, these areas that used to be our neighborhoods are being massively gentrified. I mean, just all these liberals are moving in, right? And the poor, the Blacks and I'm talking about Atlanta for right now, and the folks with the lower income are being pushed out to like Clayton County. They're getting pushed outside the city. So we see that demographic push of folks. You see, you got to be in the community, right? So it's getting pushed to the south side, right? What happens when you get pushed to the south side? The real estate tend to get devalued. So it's a whole big ugly cycle, that we're fighting against.
But a part of that is the education.
Right. So the next thing that I'm going to is 100% education, because I see education, like you said, is really powerful. I'm getting into the daycare business for a couple of reasons. The main reason is to, hey, listen, these kids have to see. If they don't see, they don't know, right? That's the first reason, to where, hey, man, you can have some sense of kind of who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Man, you got to get to them suckers when they're young. You're right.
That's why I'm going young. And then the second reason,
that's the long game.
That's a long game, man. It's a long, steady game. And we can make a real impact with teaching our kids, hey, man, and all my daycare centers, they're going to be on the south side. I'm going straight to Clayton County, going to where, because right now these kids getting left behind with not being in school. You know what I'm saying? It's an opportunity really to give back. You know what I mean? So, again, start with us being on this call. What can we do? Because that's a lot.
And the next move is you got to start talking about putting schools in place so that when the suckers come out of, when they get out of the preschool, they got someplace to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
I think, like you said, you're on the point there. I think the education is the biggest key. I'm into, and I think we are the only people who are responsible and who can teach our own kids. When it comes to our history, everything, all that means something. And because when you teach your kids the true history, that they come from kings and queens, that their history doesn't start with slavery, and that they were something before this mass this mass transatlantic slave trade occurred or whatever, then they have some sense of self, you know what I mean? And that's where it really starts. And then you need folks, the teachers have to be able to care about the students, and you usually don't care about somebody who looks like you. And that's what's the greatest thing about
growing up.
Exactly. So it's like, just with HBCUs, we know that folks, actually our teachers gave a shit about us. We weren't just some number. And so that's really what's going to have to happen on a grand scale, in my opinion, is that we're going to have to start opening up our own schools, teaching our own children, investing in our community. That is the only way that you're going to see some positive change. And it's a lot of digging that has to be done, because, we are so backward right now. I mean, from a community standpoint, and even some of the culture that we have right now, it's just backward. And we've got to, in order to get back on track, we've got to be able to look within, man. And it's going to take us, the talented 10th, or whatever you want to call us. It's going to take us.
1 in 10,000.
Right, to do that. It's going to take us. I mean, Du Bois was right, man. It's going to take those who are on top to lift as we climb, and it's our responsibility. Otherwise, what are we here for? What are we doing?
Like that nugget you dropped, Crump. I like that. That's a good place to close it out, brothers. thehouse94.com, IG, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Check us out. Leave your feedback, subscribe, like, all of that. Appreciate you tuning in. Like I said, glad to be back. Hopefully next week I'll be on the mend and I'll be back at 100%. Appreciate you guys, like I said, tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Some more biting content. We out. Through.
Peace.